Welcome to News Around the Halo, hosted by Noah Lyons. All Angels every week. Before we delve into the multiple topics that I have planned for today, here's a little bit about this channel. I've been planning for months for launching this channel, but I finally got off my lazy butt to actually do it. I will be talking about the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, my favorite Major League Baseball team, and a local favorite. I will be posting every Sunday at 5 o'clock Pacific and 8 o'clock Eastern with Angels news, updates, and more. But beginning my high school career as a freshman, I will also have a lot of things on my plate, so if I post late or something, then that's probably why. Every week I will delve into a wide array of topics. For example, this week I will be talking about the new Angels addition to their bullpen, left field platoon, Andrelton Simmons trade, and more. Without further ado, here is episode 1 of News Around the Halo. It is February 7th and I am ready to talk some Angels baseball. First I'm going to talk about the Angels bullpen. The Angels already have Houston Street, Joe Smith, Jose Alvarez, and Fernando Salas in the bullpen, but they need a little bit of insurance. After adding Diolis Guerra in the Rule 5 draft, the Angels got another reliever. And his name is Al Albuquerque. The flamethrowing righty from Detroit signed a 1-year deal worth about $1.1 million. Despite hitting 100 miles per hour on the radar gun and just being nasty in general, his inconsistency and control issues hurt him. Despite this, he seems like a good fit for the Angels. Another pitcher with these kind of issues was Garrett Richards, and he's an ace now. So, there's a little risk-reward thing here. If he can keep his walk rate down, he could be one of the better Angels relievers next season. One thing to note here is the cheapness of the deal. With Albert Pujols and Josh Hamilton signing long-term contracts, they felt the pressure of trying to perform. With Albuquerque, he'll have a low-pressure situation where he can rebuild his value. He will hopefully perform up to expectations as he hits the free agent market again next season. My consensus on the deal is that it is good for the Angels. It's a short-term deal, it's a small contract, and if everything blows up, it's just a little bit of money that they had to eat up. I do feel like there is a lot of untapped potential with him, and he could be a very good reliever for the Angels, along with Houston Street and Joe Smith. Even after parting ways with Trevor Gott, the Angels look loaded in the bullpen. They have 5 solid options, plus Cam Bedrosian, who could get a call-up later in the season, and Diolis Guerra, their Rule 5 acquisition. They also have a lot of starting pitchers, some of which they can put in the bullpen. Some people that come to mind is Tyler Skaggs, CJ Wilson, or Hector Santiago. I'll talk about the starting pitchers a little bit more later in the show, when I talk about the options and who I think will make the rotation. Now that I'm past the small acquisitions, I'd love to just talk about Simmons, the biggest addition of the offseason. While Billy Epler has been hesitant to splurge on the free agent market, Andrelton Simmons was a fantastic addition and is probably the most notable deal of the offseason. But was he worth the price? Sean Newcomb? And will he be better than Eric Ibar? Let's break it down right now. The question that is still on my mind is, did they pay too much? Sean Newcomb and Chris Ellis were recent draft picks and ranked first and second in the system, respectively. The big piece for the Braves was Sean Newcomb. Sean Newcomb was the number 1 prospect in the Angels system and was 21st overall in MLB's rankings. While this hurts, it'll be awesome seeing Andrelton Simmons in the Angels uniform diving all over the place and making fantastic defensive plays. Under new general manager Billy Epler, the Angels had some pressure to do something. Despite already having an above-average shortstop in Eric Ibar, the Angels addressed the long term by acquiring Simmons. Ibar only had 1 year left on his contract, while Simmons has 5 years for a cheap $53 million. One of the key reasons for making this deal was Simmons' youth. He's only 26 years old and has 5 years remaining on his club-friendly deal he signed with the Atlanta Braves. His offense is in question, but with his youth, he could learn to be a great hitter. The deal keeps Simmons through his prime, which is ideal for the Angels. My overall thoughts on this deal is that if he becomes an offensive force like he could be, this would be a great deal for the Angels. He's a very young shortstop, very athletic, great defender, and he has a lot of potential. Plus, he's really cheap. I don't think the Angels overpaid, but considering their farm system is basically barren, it hurts them a lot more. My biggest issue with the deal is it doesn't address the goals that they have for the season. While Simmons is a great addition, they already had Eric Ibar. The biggest positions they needed to improve were third base and left field, and they didn't do either. Looking back, if they added a left fielder like Alex Gordon, Yoenis Cespedes, Justin Upton, or somebody else, I think this deal would be a lot more beneficial for the Angels. But we have to face the reality. Arte Moreno does not want to spend. And I don't have a huge problem with that, considering how Hamilton flopped. But it doesn't seem like they're going to contend if they don't add another bat. In my opinion, the bullpen is about average. The rotation is pretty good, but there's not a clear-cut ace. And the offense, it could be below average, even though they have Mike Trout, Cole Calhoun, and Albert Pujols leading the way. The deal that they made showed that they wanted to contend, but all the other moves didn't really seem like that. To me, it seems like the Angels added a quality shortstop and then just decided, hey, let's just fill the spots instead of really going above and beyond. For now, I don't think the Simmons deal is a massive improvement. Eric Ibar was a great defender, and he was a great hitter, and I think Simmons is a better defender overall, but his hitting is below Ibar's. If there's one thing the Angels lacked last season, it was hitting, and this deal doesn't really address the hitting part of it. Eric Ibar was a solid hitter, so replacing him with a below-average hitter who could be better is a little bit of a gamble. Now, I'm done talking about Simmons. I like the deal. I just don't know how it's going to really improve the team. Now let's talk about the Angels' pitching. Most teams have a clear-cut ace and 2 or 3 solid starters behind them. The Angels, they don't really fall into that category. Instead, they don't really have a clear-cut ace, but they have a lot of solid options. If they don't make any trades, they will have 8 Major League ready starting pitchers. So, I'm going to predict where the Angels' pitchers will shake up, and if anybody will be traded. For the ace spot, I think Jared Weaver will be dethroned, and soon it will be Garrett Richards at the top of the rotation. He's a solid starting pitcher, and he has good stuff. If he pitches anything like he did in 2014, it'll be special. Behind the flame-throwing righty, I see Jared Weaver filling in. Despite velocity decline and struggles, Jared Weaver is still a solid pitcher. He's an expert about getting the ball on the ground and getting the job done. Third is another veteran who struggled with injuries in 2015, C.J. Wilson. It remains to be seen whether the Angels will hold on to Wilson, but he should be better this year. He's been working hard to get back, and hopefully it pays off. Fourth is probably the most consistent Angel, and the newest one, Andrew Heaney. Like Jared Weaver, he doesn't blow hitters away, but he gets the job done. He and Garrett Richards should helm the Angels' rotation for many years to come. The last rotation spot goes to the left-hander who's an all-star in 2015, Hector Santiago. He did struggle in the second half of the season, but if the first half indicated anything, he could be a star. If he improves his control, he's a sure bet to be in the rotation. Sadly, there aren't enough rotation spots, so it looks like Nick Tropiano and Matt Shoemaker will begin the season in AAA. While these two are great pitchers, they just aren't good enough to be in the Angels' rotation, and that's a nice luxury to have. Last but not least, I think Tyler Skaggs will have a job in the bullpen. Not saying he's a bad pitcher, but coming off of an injury, it might be best to monitor his workload a little bit more. I could be wrong, I could be right. Please comment in the section below what rotation you would go with for the Angels. Now, with all apologies, I might get a little bit frustrated. That's right, I'm talking about the Angels' left field platoon. This offseason, the Angels had a lot to address. They needed to get a backup catcher, backup second baseman, starting third baseman, and starting left fielder. But they didn't really get a starting left fielder. After watching Jason Hayward slip through their hands, they got Daniel Nava and Craig Gentry to make a platoon. They later let all-stars Justin Upton, Alex Gordon, and Yoenis Cespedes go as well. So despite having one of the strongest left field free agent classes in MLB history, they stood pat with a platoon. Question is, will it be on par with one of the worst left field platoons in MLB history, or will it be a little bit better? While the left field platoon is always really frustrating, I think the Nava Gentry platoon will actually be better than last year's. First of all, these are free agents, so we didn't lose another Kevin Jepsen this year trying to acquire a left fielder. Cough, cough, Matt Joyce, cough, cough. So, it's not that much of a risk, and the reward could be even higher. Nava and Gentry are both veteran outfielders, and both really struggled last season, but could rebound a lot. Namely, Daniel Nava was one of the best left fielders in 2013 when he had a platoon with Johnny Gomes on the Red Sox. While he might not repeat that ever again in his career, he still could maybe get close to it at least. Gentry, despite fitting more of a bench role, could also be solid for the Angels. While Gentry's a solid player and all, I see him more as a bench player. I'm more intrigued by Daniel Nava. It's no secret that the Angels were very heavily right-handed last season, and I think Daniel Nava could create a balance in that lineup. If Nava does well in spring training, he can make the outfield and the lineup a lot more clear. He can either bat second, pushing Cole Calhoun into the fifth spot, or bat in the fifth spot behind Albert Pujols, giving them a little bit more flexibility. If Nava performs the way he did with the Red Sox in 2013, the Angels could be a lot better team. Now, the other half of the platoon, Craig Gentry. He struggled as well in 2015, but could be a solid addition to the club. The former Texas Ranger and Oakland Athletic can probably bring more to the defensive side for the Angels than Daniel Nava. Overall, though, I'd prefer Daniel Nava. Craig Gentry is a solid player, but I see him more as a bench player or a role player, while Nava has the potential to be a solid starter. The left field situation isn't ideal, but I think it'll be better than last year's, considering last year's was really, really bad. I don't think the left field duo will really impress, but I think they'll be better than Angels fans expect. If you look at the splits, Daniel Nava is very good against right-handers, and Craig Gentry is very good against left-handers. So, based on the statistics, this could be a pretty good duo. Overall, the Angels offseason seems like it's almost done. One thing that they might need to address is the backup outfielder. It would be beneficial for the Angels to add another free agent outfielder, maybe Will Venable or maybe even David Murphy coming back to the Angels. But right now they have two options. The first option is Todd Cunningham. The left fielder was added from the Atlanta Braves early in the offseason. He got some action late season with the Atlanta Braves, but it remains to be seen how he'll fit with the Angels. Next is right fielder Rafael Ortega. Ortega got some action with the Cardinals, but not much. The Angels signed him to a 1-year early in the offseason, right after the Andrelton Simmons trade. If the Angels choose to add a fifth outfielder to their roster, these are probably the top two choices. And that's about all I got to say for this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching episode 1 of News Around the Halo. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share to a friend. See you next week.